everyone. It is Grandma Moose from the Merry Moose Quilt Shop in Garrison, North Dakota. And I am here, as you saw, with my cohort, Marty, and he's here helping me today. We are going to talk to you a little bit about what it takes to bring when you bring your quilt to the long armor, what the long armor would like to see. The first thing we're going to talk about is your backings. No long armor wants to open up the backing and see this hanging like this, where one end is longer than the other. A lot of times when we put these on, we are centering them, so we fold them in half to center them. And I have already done that with these, but you can see if they are not, if one side is longer than the other, it's gonna not make for a good center. We aren't gonna know for sure where that center is, so your quilt won't be centered on the long arm. And I'm just gonna lay this ruler on here so you can see the difference. Here's one pin, and there's the other pin. And these are pretty well lined up along there. So you can see it makes quite a bit of difference on that. So if you can just cut this extra little tail off on here. And also, if you have a wide back, they are not always square. They're not always cut straight. They're sometimes funky on the bolt. Please square those up if you want to, and we sure appreciate it. The other thing you can do to make your backing nice is press those folds out from where they are on the bolt. We spend a lot of time pressing. I know some places even charge to press those out. So get those creases pressed as best you can. And then after that, we'll press the other little folds from being folded in a bag. So that's what you need to do with your backing. Now we're going to go to the front a little bit and show you some things you can do to make life easier on the front. As you can see here on this right here, I have stitched a little basting stitch all the way around the whole edge of this quilt. And it's only about 1/8 of an inch. It really doesn't matter. Put it inside your 1/4 of an inch so that it is hidden in the binding seam and you won't have to worry about it. So just a little tiny basting stitch all the way around the whole quilt works wonders. I've also got one here for a piano key border. And you can see, sometimes, they'll start to pull apart. This was just sewn, so it shouldn't yet. So if you have this basting stitch along here, it keeps those from pulling apart. Also, any kind of seam anywhere. This quilt actually does have a seam, so it would protect that seam from doing any pulling or anything like that. It's just a really good protection for your quilt. So if you can do that to your quilt, the top of your quilt, before you bring it to your long armor, she will be thrilled. Or he, I guess, if there's a he. The other thing that I'd like to talk to you about a little bit is sometimes people ask, how much do you require extra backing or batting? Trust me, we are not asking for extra to sell you more. What we need to do, and I have it shown here, I like about 5 inches. 4 or 5 inches is really good. And you might wonder, why do we have to have so much? This is the top, this is the side. Why does there need to be so much extra of both? Number one, this is the clamp that I use on my long arm, and it's got to go along the side. So I clamp it on like this and then pull it tight, and that holds your quilt straight. If I have to clip it on here and it clips onto the edge, the long arm's got to go around it. It can catch it. It can make a real mess right in this area. So you want the clamp, you want the extra so they can clamp it on. I also use something called red snappers, and that are these little nice little things, and they have a tube. I didn't pull it out of the long arm because it's as long as, it's like 12 feet long. But what happens is there's a little tube that fits in here, and I lay the quilt over it, and then I snap this onto it. So you can see that it's going to take at least that much. If your quilt is not cut exactly straight, if the edges are not exactly straight, your backing, sometimes you'll have this much hanging extra, sometimes this much. It's just a, please do it because it makes it easier. We can straighten your quilt then much easier if we have a little bit extra to work with. I know it's like 10 inches on either side and 10 inches on the, or 10 inches total on the sides, 10 on the top and bottom. It seems like a lot, and the same with batting, but it works a whole lot easier on the long arm. You'll be much happier with your results from your long armor if you can follow a few of those tricks. I think that's all. Those are the things I like when people bring their quilts into me to be quilted. If you have any questions, just ask away in the comments and we will check and see if we can get back to you. Thanks a lot.